Hello and welcome to the special business meeting for the District of Squamish for Tuesday, December 5th. And as always, we're gathered to do our work today on the traditional and unceded territory of the Squamish Nation. Please be advised that this council meeting is being live streamed, recorded, and will be available to the public to view on the District of Squamish website following the meeting. If you have concerns, please notify the corporate officer present at the meeting. Can I have someone move adoption of the agenda, please? Moved by Councillor French, second by Councillor Stoner. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And just for those of you in the gallery, we have Councillor Greenlaw is participating remotely today, and we have her on the screen. Thank you, Councillor Greenlaw, for finding a way to attend even when you're under the weather. Appreciate it. We're on to item 3, staff reports. I will pass it over to staff to introduce themselves and the topic.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council and members of the community who have joined us today. My name is Heather Boxer, General Manager of Financial Services, and my pronouns are she, her, so I can be addressed accordingly. We don't have a presentation for you today. The purpose of the meeting is to provide Council with the opportunity to ask questions, provide some direction, or to discuss any elements of the financial plan before it's brought to Council for 3 readings on December 12th. So as a reminder to the public that have joined us today, the district's financial plan cycle began in July of 2023 with several council workshops conducted up until today. The district conducted a public engagement event on November 14th and has provided information and received feedback on the financial plan through various means and platforms, including the district's website, print advertisement in the Squamish Chief newspaper, Let's Talk Squamish, the drop-in with the mayor event, the Coffee with Council series, and the district's online open book visualization platform. So council received a summary and discussed the feedback provided with Squamish residents at the last week's budget workshop. For today's discussion, I am joined by Rolland Russell, Senior Financial Analyst, and we have several of our staff here today in chambers or online to help with the discussion. So with that, I'll hand it over to the mayor. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Council, who'd like to kick off the discussion here today? Councillor Hamilton. For a brief second, I thought there was no questions about the budget, but yeah, go ahead, Councillor Hamilton. Thank you.
Thanks very much. And perhaps no question about the budget because we have been chewing on this for some time, right? And one item that has been on my mind quite a bit is the number probably won't do much good, but for those of you finding it in a document, 845-00103, the Brennan Park concession. Yeah. So the Brennan Park concession is allocated $300,000 for 2024 and $2.5 million for 2025 for a total of $2.8 million over the next 2 years. My understanding of the project comes from the couple paragraphs, the 2 paragraphs in the budget, and the brief response from last week's meeting when asking about that facility. So my question to staff, and so let me contextualize that. So this roughly $3 million expenditure is motivated by our real estate and facilities master plan. I absolutely see that this is a facility that needs to be improved. And my question is, how do we prioritize this $2.8 million spend, discretionary spend, in light of the 8% tax increase of non-discretionary spending? So we have an enormous tax rate increase due to non-discretionary spending. We have this building that's been identified many years ago as needing replacement, but we're in a different situation now. So I'd like to understand how staff or whether staff examine items like this in light of the increased non-discretionary spending. How do we prioritize these things?
Thank you for the question through the chair. So the capital planning is a longer term situation. So a lot of the items that make it into the capital planning of going through the rigors of the master plans, through the rigors of prioritization and need. And also there's the element of the financial planning side of things in terms of what funding is available. Now, certainly if things are going up in terms of non-discretionary and council wants to provide staff to pull back on certain items, absolutely the more, I don't want to say that they're not urgent, but the lower priority items can absolutely be pulled back. But that is not necessarily a choice of staff. That would be something that staff would require council direction.
Do you have a follow-up?
Uh,
You will have another opportunity, but if you want to follow up for that, you're welcome to.
Thank you. So if an item like that were to be, if I were to want to postpone an item like that for a year, staff would seek council direction for that today, correct?
Through the chair, yes, that's correct. However, staff would like the opportunity to provide the impacts of delaying that project to council so they have the full picture before that decision's made.
Thank you. Councillor Stoner.
Thank you, through the chair. I'm just wondering if staff can clarify what we've committed to for some of our external kind of third-party agreements. So our Squamish and downtown BIA partnerships in particular. I know that we had conversations about these earlier in the year, and both are displaying as service level changes in 2024. But the our Squamish partnership agreement then shows up again in the general fund for the next out into 2028. But a similar line item isn't shown for downtown BIA. So I'm just curious how those pieces are being handled and what the expectation or agreements are, given that I don't think council direction has been set for a 5-year term for any of those.
Thank you, through the chair. My name is Sarah Morris. I'm the manager of arts and culture here at the District of Squamish. And I have input these requests into the budget. So to give council some background on this, 2 requests were received this year, one from our Squamish, one from the BIA. We had additional funding left in the grants budget for next year. So staff thought it would be a good idea to fund both of those projects from the grants budget for 2024, as there was unallocated funding there. The BIA submitted a request for a 1-year pilot project, which is what's reflected in council's budget. And our Squamish request was a little bit different. So they requested a 5-year partnership. So that's reflected in the budget as you see it. Before we enter into that multi-year partnership agreement, we're doing some work on the partnership policy and the grants policy in a big review that's happening in 2024. So before staff commit to that multi-year agreement with our Squamish, they will have to go through a process of onboarding for new partners with the district. Similarly, the BIA would have to go through that kind of a process should they want to apply for more funding moving forward. So in essence, we haven't committed anything to either of these groups yet. It was council's direction to put those into the budget for consideration. And so that's what you see there. I think with our Squamish in particular, that request, staff were just forward thinking and wanted to show that to council in future years. So it's in the 5-year financial plan. We could have done the same thing with the BIA, but we just didn't want to preclude that or predetermine what council's wishes were and what the BIA's request was, because we don't have that information from them for future years.
Okay, that's really helpful and great to hear that that'll be rolled into the forthcoming work around partnership agreement evaluation. And that's work that'll come back to council in 2024, correct? Yes, okay, great, thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Pettingill.
Yeah, just one thing, and I sort of harped it on it in other contexts in the past, but sort of thinking about all the investments in the RCMP building and so on. Do we know, in terms of insurance, if there's a catastrophic event, for example, who is responsible? Is that our insurance, our replacement, the RCMP takes care of that, or how does that sort of thing get handled?
Thank you, through the mayor. So as per the Municipal Police Services Agreement, the district is 100% responsible for providing the building space to the detachment and also for the jail cells. So should something happen to make that building unusable, we would continue to be responsible as per the spirit of that agreement.
Okay, I'm going to chew on that a bit. It's a bit of a concern for me, not having the information I would like from Fortis about the risks there. Switching topics, I had, as I recall, the Street Reach program was a collaboration, I think, funded by the province, but between our bylaw and Helping Hands and maybe someone else. I understand, and I thought that was in our budget, funding for that, or was flowing through, but I don't see that anymore. And I've heard that the program has canceled. So I'm wondering if we are aware of that, or if that's impacting our bylaw needs or some of our sort of service needs downtown.
Thank you, through the mayor. So you're correct. So the Strengthening Communities program was funded through UBCM for a 2-year period, and that funding has not been renewed by the province. They haven't continued with that grant program. Both Helping Hands and the district have been aware of that for quite some time, that the funding would not be renewed. So have been working to institutionalize a lot of the activities that were part of that grant into day-to-day operations. There's been a lot of really amazing benefits from that program, and in particular, some of the relationships that have been developed between bylaw and Helping Hands staff. So that will continue with the leadership from both of those agencies. And bylaw services will continue to prioritize some of the work that's been happening downtown related to that program through existing resources, and we'll continue to evaluate that over the coming years.
Councillor French.
Thanks, Mayor. And following up on Councillor Pettingill's question, what, if any, impact does the ending of this program have on the overdose prevention facility?
Through the mayor, those are two very separate projects. So the overdose prevention site is funded through Vancouver Coastal Health. Helping Hands is the operator of that site. However, it is not connected to the Strengthening Communities program, which was looking at the wider downtown area.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Additional questions, comments as we're working our way through here? Councillor Greenlaw, I'll just, if you could use the electronic hand raise if your hand does come up. I've been trying to keep track of the screens, but sorry, Councillor Hamilton, go ahead.
So I just wanted to make sure my council colleagues had a chance to get through any other questions before I propose a motion regarding the Brennan Park concession.
I don't see any other hands. We're welcome to. Councillor Stoner.
I'm going to entertain a question to staff before a motion goes on the floor. From what I heard last week from staff, while it's labeled the Brennan Park concession, it also folds in work or some space for expanded work for Public Works, as well as a few other pieces of infrastructure. And so I'm just wondering if staff can remind us of the scope of the building and what is planned for 2024 versus 2025.
Bill Stoner, General Manager, Community Services. Cal Bragg is not here today, so I'm going to do my best I can to fill in for him. I did talk last week with Cal after our presentation, and the one thing that we left out is that building is end of life. It is not just replacing for replacing. And we are looking, we do have needs at Brennan Park. Do it include Parks offices and change room there. And yeah, and so we are looking to utilize this to fulfill various needs, not and a concession. I guess that was the one thing that's on there as well. So it's not just a concession stand. We are looking to fulfill various needs by replacing a building that is in need of replacement. It is, as Cal had said last week, a placeholder. We do not know exactly how much it's going to cost at this point, but we do know that some work has to go into replacing that building.
And just to further clarify, as I read the budget, there's some preliminary money in there to do kind of that scoping and feasibility work with a broader amount of the spend happening in the following fiscal year.
That's correct.
And on that same line of questioning, what where would the decision around the final decision around supporting the output of the 2024 work around scoping and what that actually looks like, where does that decision lay? And is that in approval of this budget line item at this point, or is there some future touch point that we should be sort of looking for on the horizon?
Again, filling in for Cal as best I can. Absolutely. Before we go ahead with anything, we would come back to council.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Penning. I'll come back to you, Councillor Hamilton.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if we have the people in the room that can answer this. My recollection from last week, I guess, was also part of the splash park infrastructure was meant to be included in this building, and so I was sort of under the impression that at least some sort of construction or work needed to be done this year to get the splash park this year as part of that building. Is that correct?
Yeah, through the mayor. Thank you, Councillor Pettengill. And again, I think I want to be clear. I think Mr. Bragg had indicated that may be a possibility, that we do put some of the splash park mechanical into that building, but I don't think that's decided yet.
Thank you, Councillor Hamilton.
So a clarifying question. So the 300,000 that's allocated for 2024, is that 300,000 including any construction of the building, or is that just planning?
Through the mayor, that's planning.
So I want to confirm we've allocated $300,000 to allocate. We've allocated $300,000 to plan a 2,000 square foot building.
That's correct. Correct. Yeah.
Councillor Anderson, was that your hand? Did I see your hand there? No. Yeah, go ahead.
I'd like to put a motion on the floor that until the staff bring back a clearer vision for what this building is and what the planning phase of this building is costing and why it is costing so much before it gets included in the 2024 budget.
Councillor Greenlaw?
I'm seconding.
Seconded by Councillor Greenlaw. Go ahead, Councillor Hamilton, would you like to speak to it?
Thanks. I'm concerned about adding a $300,000 expenditure for planning a building, a 2,000 square foot building in our 2024 budget. I don't think we have a clear scope for this project, and I understand it takes funding to get that scope, and I'm hesitant to allocate funding for a building that we don't understand, whether it's going to include splash park pieces, whether it includes washrooms, the fact that it's called a concession, but it's more than that. I think we need a clearer picture of this spend before we approve it. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Stoner?
Thank you. I'll support the motion on the floor because I think clarity is good. I think that there are a lot of moving pieces as we look at Brennan Park and trying to figure out how we fit all the pieces in, including the overflow for public works. But I think a simple one pager that outlines what that $300,000 is going to be for as we consider first and second reading next week would be helpful. And then we can have a broader debate as to whether that $300,000 is justified. But I think a little bit more detail on just what the vision is for that initial planning phase would be helpful.
Thank you. Councillor French?
Thanks, Chair. I'll be supporting the motion, and primarily out of the learning that we got from the AAP process connected to the first iteration of the Public Works building. We found ourselves in a situation where there wasn't in the minds of our residents, and I think even some councillors, enough complete information about that particular project at that time. And we heard about that during the AAP process. So this is a situation where I think this additional extra information helps us with this project moving forward.
Thank you. Other comments? A question to the mover: is the intent that this information be provided in time for our upcoming budget cycle? That's your expectation out of this motion? Okay.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Councillor Pettingill?
Sorry, can I get the motion again, please?
That the $300,000 budgeted for the 2024 amount, sorry, let me start again. That the $300,000 budgeted in 2024 for planning the Brennan Park concession be postponed until we have a clearer vision, until staff can provide a clearer view of what is being proposed at this site.
So I guess
just 1 second. I'm going to go to the. We'll go to the minute taker just to see what we have, and then we can clarify what it is that we're doing. Oh, I will pass you my mic.
Thank you. So what I have is that staff bring back a clear vision for the concession building during the planning phase of the building before it is included in the 2024 budget.
Thanks. I think I used the word postpone in my second. Yeah. My intent is not to remove it. Let me speak to my intent. My intent is not to remove this building from our budget. I do understand that it needs to be replaced. What I'm not comfortable with right now is that it needs to be replaced right now with our understanding of our needs at this moment at that place.
Okay, clarifying question for staff then, because what I've heard and sort of we've asked some questions around this previously from my perspective, and I had comfort that this made sense. I would appreciate, I think, some extra detail and extra due diligence makes sense. But I would like to avoid sort of redoing the budget to remove this and then putting it back in, trying to get all that done before January. So is there a way we can sort of, I guess, sort of get the information, and then once we have that information, decide whether it's in or out? Is there sort of an effective way to do it that way, as opposed to causing it to go in and out and in and out? Or because I'd just sort of like to have the information with minimum work.
Thank you, through the chair. Thank you for that question, Councillor Pettingill. I think what staff can endeavor to do is provide that clarity before 3 readings of the financial plan. And should that suffice, we can move it forward. If it should not suffice, we will have to have a motion to remove it, and we could bring it back at the spring amendment.
Would that be staff's interpretation of this resolution if we support this resolution then?
Through the chair, that would be staff's interpretation, as long as the word postpone is no longer in the motion.
Okay, then I would be able to support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. With that clarity, I'll be supporting the motion. Look forward to that discussion when we have it. I will say that around guiding park investments, we do have a parks master plan proposed in the budget that we have at direction of council postponed, and I think that one of the outputs of that work is to provide the community and ourselves that clarity. So I'm having a hard time seeing, if I think this all the way through, postponing a piece of investment that we're looking at doing, but not advancing the planning work to better inform that. So it's a challenging. There's lots of moving pieces here, but I welcome the. I'll support the motion to facilitate the conversation at the next touch point for this budget. So, any other comments? Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Anderson.
Last time we discussed this item, I brought along the plans for the 1971 concession stand. I will be supporting the motion, but it's my anticipation that we have 52 years of new functions and realities to address with this facility, this important facility for Brennan Park. Thank you.
Councillor Greenlaw.
Yeah, I'll also speak in favor of the motion. I think this could be a really valuable and useful upgrade, but I would like to see some of the planning process. So, some of these numbers, to somebody who's new to these costs in a municipality, they're quite astounding. So I'd just like to see a bit of a breakdown of what's being spent where and what the ultimate intent of the building is. Thanks.
Thank you. So seeing no other hands, I'll call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Any other points of consideration here, Council? Councillor Anderson.
Last October 17, a motion was passed that staff bring back the Parks and Recreation Master Plan for consideration in the 2025 budget with further rationale, a clearer scope and understanding of integration with the following. 4 strategies: neighborhood parks planning, arts and culture strategy, Brennan Park and Brennan Park Fields and Master Plan. I would like to put forward a motion to request an interim report from staff, somewhat along the lines of the matter we previously discussed, a backgrounder, how staff might, we have had a report that staff have given this some consideration and presumably some strategic thinking around it. And I can put forward a motion, Mayor Herford, to that effect, and I'll speak to it further if I have a seconder.
I think I'd welcome a motion to so we clearly understand what it is that you're after, and then that'll better facilitate our conversation here as a group.
I would like to move that staff prepare a brief report on its consideration regarding postponing a Parks and Recreation Master Plan update.
Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Hamilton.
Question for the mover: what's your envisioned time scale? What is the time scale that you would like staff to respond?
The same as our next opportunity prior to third reading.
Do we have a seconder for this motion? I will caution council that we have a short turnaround time on this, and we need to be very cautious of capacity, and perhaps this is something I should have flagged in the onset of our last discussion as well. But we need to be very mindful of what we're asking to happen in a very compressed time frame. So yeah, just we all need to be mindful of that. Whether we push, and this is something that is critical, and you require this piece of information, that's something that we need to consider. But this could be quite a lift, and if this is the second piece, if this is going to be we can't do this on every item, or we had prior opportunities to do that on more items, we'll say. Councillor Hamilton?
Yeah, sorry, another clarifying question for the mover. You asked about staff's decision to remove it, but it was council direction to remove it.
That's correct. I'm asking for a brief review. Staff have reported that they have given the council's direction of October 17th consideration. I am interested, for reasons which I could elaborate on, should I have a seconder and speak to the motion. I'm interested in a brief report from staff on what their consideration is, the implications in broad terms and in brief terms. Thank you.
Yes, Ms. Vengi.
Sorry, could I just ask Mr. Valeniskis to provide some clarity on whether that would be possible before? I imagine this is the 12th.
Thank you. Yes, not possible by the time the budget is going to be coming for readings. We've essentially have taken council's direction and are planning to do all the background work and bringing council up to speed and doing a gap analysis in 2024 for this project.
Thank you for that. Councillor Anderson.
That's useful information, and it's really the kind of information I'm requesting, although I would like to press a bit further. That is news. The motion instructs for 2025, and that you're planning this to be delivered in 2024 is of interest. This motion of, or
hold on one second there, Councillor. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page, and what I heard from staff wasn't that it was a deliverable in 2024, but that the work plan has been adjusted to work towards executing this deliverable in 2020, doing the bulk of the work in 2025. 2024 is preparatory work. Mr. Valeniskis, would you want to clarify? There's probably, no, that's where we are. So the delay in that project has been incorporated into work plans going forward, is what we're hearing from staff.
Thank you. We'll have opportunity in the strategic plan review to perhaps discuss this matter and its implications further. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for raising it. I do think it's an important piece of work. Okay. Council, any other considerations, questions, feedback, motions? Okay. So we don't have actually a recommended motion besides the motions that we've provided. So unless there's other comments on this, we can conclude this topic and move on with our agenda. It's my version of going once, going twice. You know, when we get to the next stage, we want to make sure that we're all confident. So, okay, moving on. So thank you very much for being here to all of our staff, and I'll be looking for a motion to close, please. Moved by Councillor Hamilton, second by Councillor Stoner. All in favor? Motion carries. We'll be in recess until 10 to 3. It's like 15 minutes.